YouTube and Mrs. Dr. Lupo.
And I'm Sam, and today we're talking about the spoon theory and living with chronic illnesses with our guest, GekGemu.
All three of us have actually a chronic illness that will be on the show today, so it'll be interesting to see how we all compare and contrast, but hopefully either if you're living with a chronic illness, you can get a bit of support and community relief, or if you know somebody, you can learn how to help them out in their daily lives. But for more live content every Friday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific on Twitch.
Or if you want more magical content over here, be sure to like and subscribe.
Have a good day. Are we ready for our guest? Drum roll. I shouldn't have done that because now I have to go click on the thing.
Here, I'll be doing
We
it. Drum roll.
have GekGemu, or as we all know her, Vicky. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
We have all known each other since the Destiny days, like
baby Destiny days.
Yes, you were like one of the first people, like one of the first girls that I knew in the streaming community, and so it's crazy to think that it's been like 6 years. Yeah, you love her sweatshirt. Yeah. She has a Hogwarts sweatshirt. Sam has a Slug Club sweatshirt, and I have an Herbology Club sweatshirt.
It's like there's a franchise we enjoy or something.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be.
Yeah, it's definitely Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
probably.
Or, Star Wars.
Where the world gets saved by the superhero named Zelda.
Yeah, I love that one.
Oh my gosh, that's so triggering.
Gotta catch them all.
Welcome. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and also your pronouns, please go ahead.
Sure. My pronouns are she, her, and I have been a streamer for 6 years. I was on Twitch, and then I switched over to Facebook Gaming for a little bit, and now I'm back on Twitch, and I've been back on Twitch for, I think October will be 2 years. Which, like, it doesn't even feel like it's been that much. It feels like it's been long, but not that long. But somehow time is just going by. Like
2020, we skip it.
Yeah, like
does that even happen?
Even 2021 is disappearing. It's September.
I think this birthday, I should just go back to whatever age I was in 2020 because I didn't even get to experience that year. So that's how I feel.
My 34th year just didn't happen.
Yeah, what's it like to be an age in 2020?
Right?
You know, there is no age.
29 twice?
Technically, in that way, you do.
But yeah, I started on Destiny, like Sam said, and I have been kind of dabbing in variety ever since like Destiny 2, like kind of was not fulfilling my needs as a content creator. It sounds like they're like an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, Destiny is kind of like the ex-boyfriend you keep going back to, right? Though, because
I say that all the time. It's like Stockholm syndrome.
It's like a weird breakup, but you're just like still kind of attracted to them. It's like,
but I also don't think that you really wanted to break up in the first place. You just feel like you weren't connecting for a while.
It wasn't mutual. Yeah. They broke up with you, basically.
I'm gonna change. Just give me one more chance. And then you're like, all right, I'll buy the next DLC. And then you're like, dang it.
For chance is never better.
Oh, I guess I'll come back. But if you don't hold my attention, I'm going to leave again.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Genshin Impact. And I'm going to stay
with all those waifus.
Exactly.
I mean, Destiny's missing out is what I'm saying.
There's some pretty cute waifus on Genshin. I don't play, but I watch Ben. And
I want to get back into it, but it's just like such a money hole for me because I can't not buy tons of wishes to open up the packages and see what's in there.
Yeah, Ben's always like, don't buy stuff in Genshin. Then he's like, here's $1,500 Genshin.
Well, now I have that lady that pulls the sword out of her boob area.
Yeah.
Like that's literally where the sword comes from. And I'm like, all right, it's time to get back in.
Yeah.
You've heard of the term. You've heard of the term buns of steel. No, boobs of steel.
Boobs of steel. Because it has something. Otherwise, you're just like cutting yourself up every time.
Yeah, like they gotta be steel.
That's true. I didn't even think about the semantics of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, don't worry. You can pay for stuff. It's a tax write-off.
Exactly. Totally. That's what Ben tells me. And then I'm like, okay, if you say so.
Listen, as a streamer, almost anything can be a tax write-off, but then I'm also afraid to get like in trouble.
everything. Literally, your food can technically be your work meals, and
Your makeup, your clothes.
yeah,
True.
Yeah.
I don't think that gives us an excuse to go buy like tons of new stuff, but
No.
validating.
Oh my
at
gosh.
least.
Thrifting has been so fun recently.
Thrifting has.
I wanted to get into thrifting too, because I see on TikTok all these girls find such awesome clothes
Go on
from
ThredUp
thrifting.
online.
Okay, I'll have to check it
Yeah.
out.
If
That's
you
where I
wanna-
get all
if you
my
want
clothes. Like
online
90% of my clothes are from ThredUp, and it's awesome. Okay, so we're not talking about Genshin waifus or anything like that. We're talking about chronic illnesses, and like we all three have some form of a chronic illness. So if we want to quickly, I can start and we can go in a loop here. So Sam, you'll end, and if you just want to describe what you have been diagnosed with, because sometimes that's not always correct, and then a little bit of your history and what your main symptoms are. I think it'll be interesting to see that a lot of us have similar symptoms, but also very differing symptoms as well. So I'll start. I have chronic Lyme disease. Basically, a tick bit me, and then the bacteria from it spreads and hides throughout my whole entire body. If it's not caught within the first couple months, you cannot fully get rid of it with antibiotics. My first doctor didn't believe that Lyme was a thing that you could have in this area of the country. And so she never tested for it, told me I had a leftover virus from a flu. And after a few years of me doing everything I possibly could, I went to a new doctor, and it took her 2 weeks to tell me that I had Lyme. And now I just treat the symptoms. Symptoms for me is severe chronic fatigue. I woke up at 7:30 and it is now almost 11:30, and I have been yawning and struggling to keep my eyes open for the last hour. So I usually have about 2 hours of semi-awake time in the morning, and then it's just fighting after that. I also deal with a lot of swollen and achy joints and muscles, and I have flare-ups where I lose feeling in my fingers and my toes, and I'm starting to get a little bit of nerve damage in my right arm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like it's really new. My doctor's coming
Okay.
back from her maternity leave in October, and I'll be going in and seeing. But basically, I can do certain moves that I not really nerve damage, because I still feel. It's just a lot of nerve pain. So something is pinching or doing something to my nerve that is causing a lot of excess pain going down my arm. So
Don't make that.
yes.
Yeah, that sounds like the worst.
It really sucks. I guess it's my right arm. Like it's the whole
sure.
motion of twisting and lifting. So like, I want to like that. That is where, if this is heavier than Tennessee Peanut Company peanuts, then
Sponsor us.
yes. I mean, I'm sure they would, because they've already helped Penn out. I feel a pull. So like, weightlifting right now really sucks, because I want to go up in weights because my muscles are capable, but my nerves are not. So the end. Also, super side note before we keep going, we're not saying this to gain pity from anybody. We're just here to educate each other and uplift each other. So
We also don't want advice. We have
Correct.
doctors, and they're great.
yes, unless you are a Lyme specific doctor or whatever else specific doctor, I don't want to hear from anybody.
Yeah.
I promise I drink water.
Yes,
Water
yeah,
is
exactly.
important
I've
enough
had
to
my thyroid
all to everything.
tested.
Yeah.
All right, Vicky, go ahead.
So yeah, it's funny that you said the whole thing about like being up for 2 hours and then immediately like feeling so fatigued, because that's exactly where I'm at right now. Like I woke up at like 8-ish, and now it's like 10-12 for me, and like it's like, it feels like my eyes are like sinking into my skull. Like I haven't slept in like a long time. And that's what I started to notice, like, was that my fatigue was extreme. Like instead of just like being like, oh man, I'm so tired, like I would feel like I hadn't slept in days when I had slept normally like the past couple of days. And at first I was like, my family is the type of family who like doesn't really believe in getting diagnosed for like things that aren't very apparent. So when they were probably just like, oh, it's probably because you're doing XYZ or you're not eating well or whatever the case may be. But once I moved here to Idaho and it got worse, I was like, I need to do something about this because now it's affecting my career where like I can only stream for a certain amount of time or I can't stream at all because I just feel so dead that I probably wouldn't be very entertaining to watch. And so I went to the doctor and he, did all the tests that you would do on a thyroid. And he said his exact words were, you have the thyroid of a 65-year-old woman and you are not 65, obviously. And I was like semi-relieved, but also like nervous because I had never been diagnosed with anything before besides like mental illness, like nothing physical before. So it was kind of nice to have a explanation, but at the same time, like I found out through research that thyroid medication is just so finicky that you can be put on millions of different types and like it'll just take a long time to find the perfect one for you because everybody's different and everybody's gonna metabolize the medicine differently and all that stuff. So it took me a couple of tries to get on the right medication. And then I felt better for a little while. And then recently, I would say within the past year, I got diagnosed with TMJ because I was getting really bad pains here and here. And so I thought like when it was here, and then this is like an adventure and I'm going to try and TLDR it. But I started getting pains here and I was like, oh, it's got to be something with sinuses. And side note, I don't have health insurance. So I had to do all this research like out of pocket. But so I went to an ENT because I was like, oh, it's a sinus thing. And he, looked up my nose and stuff. He's like, well, you don't look like anything's wrong, but we'll do a CAT scan just to make sure, which I had to pay for out of pocket, obviously. And so I did the CAT scan, nothing wrong. So then they sent me to an allergist. The allergist said that there was nothing wrong with me besides my normal allergies, but it wouldn't be something that would be causing like this. Then I went to a dentist because I heard that sometimes if you have like a cavity or if you need a root canal, then it can actually affect like pain in your face too. So I was like, oh, maybe that's it because I haven't been to the dentist in a while. So I went to the dentist and they said everything's fine. And then it wasn't until I went to like a new general practitioner that she was like, I think you have TMJ. She's like, because you are explaining most of the symptoms of TMJ. And with the TMJ, I was getting migraines. And like, apparently they can just bounce off each other, which is really fun. Like the TMJ will make the migraines worse and the migraines will make the TMJ worse.
We love that.
What does TMJ stand for?
It's like a long name.
Okay, what does it? Is it like a lockjaw type thing? Or
yeah, it's very similar to lockjaw. Basically, like the muscles like right here just get really, really tense. It happens to a lot of people who clench their jaw or grind their teeth in their sleep. For me, like I am a very anxious person, and obviously with everything going on in the world, like became 8 million times more anxious. My jaw is like constantly clenched. Like how I don't have a jawline of steel, like I have no idea because my jaw is always clenched. So I went to a TMJ clinic because they actually have a TMJ clinic here in Boise.
Nice.
And they wanted to give me a custom mouth guard, but it was going to be like $1,500. And I was like, there's no way I can pay for that. So I ended up just getting one from Rite Aid where you like put it in hot water. And then you basically, mold it to your teeth. And it's so far so good, but like it's a roll of the dice. Like some days I wake up and I feel okay. Some days I wake up and as soon as I open my eyes, it's a headache immediately, like right off the bat. Like nothing's even happened yet in my day. And it's just a headache. And I got put on pretty strong migraine medication that it's called sumatriptan. But the thing with that is it makes you a little sleepy. It just makes you like a little out of it. So it's hard to like be on that and stream at the same time. But that's definitely the hardest part of it all is just finding a way to still create content while feeling like duty and not knowing when you're going to feel like it. Like you can't really make promises to your audience, which stinks because you want to like be like, today we're going to do this, and then tomorrow we're going to do that. And then you can't, because odds are like something's going to happen. And most people are very understanding, and it's become sort of a meme that like, I just will never have a schedule. But at the same time, I do feel bad because like, I feel like I'm not as good of a streamer as someone who can keep a consistent schedule, or who can like actually make a schedule of content and be like, this is what we're going to stream and this is when we're going to stream it. And then more recently, I actually got diagnosed with, this is not a chronic illness, but I got diagnosed with high blood pressure. And they said that that could be another reason why I'm getting really bad headaches and then I'm fatigued, is because of that. So I'm on medication for that now. And I just started it. So I don't know like what it's going to do, or like what kind of side effects are going to come from it. But if they help my headaches, I'm all for it. Honestly, my blood pressure was like, what's like the normal blood pressure? I don't remember.
I have it, but I don't know what it is.
Mine was like 90 over something.
I never understand what it means, but they always say good.
It's 120
over 70,
over 80.
Yeah, mine was like 170 or 190 over 90 or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and like I was like, can this be from stress? And she was like, well, are you stressed? And I was like, stress?
Just a little bit, not a lot,
Never. She's like, well, you need to figure out a way to calm down, because you are going to give yourself a heart attack in like 10 years. Just by like, even if you exercise and, drink water and take vitamins and all that good stuff, like you're like literally mentally destroying yourself.
Oh no.
And I was like, okay, I just won't. Forehead. So that's where I'm at now. Pretty much. And because of that, unfortunately, I just like haven't been streaming very much. And it definitely stinks. And every day that I wake up, I'm like, today's going to be the day that I get back into it and I stream a long time. Because I used to stream for like 12, 13, 14 hours like it was nothing. I wouldn't even like blink an eye. And now it's like, I can't even stream for like 3.5, 4 hours without feeling like I'm going to die. Just from exhaustion.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at now. So hopefully things get better with the blood pressure medication. My doctor said a lot of blood pressure medications are kind of like a cure-all. Like they're not just for blood pressure. They can help other things as well, like headaches and stuff. So we'll see what happens.
I hope it works. I looked up TMJ and it's temporomandibular joint dysfunction.
Yeah. I wonder if I have TMJ coming on, because I find myself a lot just like driving in the car, and then I will realize that I'm clenching my jaw. Not grinding my teeth, but clenching my jaw, and I just open my mouth and I'm like, oh, why does my mouth hurt so bad? And I've been getting headaches more. So curious. But Sam, what about you?
I was born with a medical textbook, basically. So I was a preemie, which is already setting up for a case of lifelong medical concerns. So as soon as I came out, my lungs were struggling. I was born with asthma, which most people, like 99% of people who get asthma later, they develop it. You're not normally born with it, but I was suffering. And so I'd been like on steroids my entire life, up until like 16 years old, to help basically like expand my rib cage and for my lungs, and so like I could breathe like a normal person. So my asthma is chronic with my breathing concerns. And it is still something that I struggle with to this day, but I've learned to work around it. Like I understand what it feels like now and what I need to do to make sure there's not an onset of an attack or all of that. So that's where it started. And at 11, I was diagnosed with chronic anxiety, and which to this day I'm able to take care of. But yeah, so that is something that I deal with day to day. And then whenever I was 18, at my 18th birthday dinner, my mom was looking at me. She was like just staring. And I was like, Mom, what's wrong? And she was like, Sam, do this. And she like made me put my neck back. And I was like, okay. And then she like came up and like was touching my neck. And she's like, you've got a goiter starting. And my family has history of every single woman in our family having Hashimoto's disease, hyperthyroidism. And so we knew I would get it, but it normally didn't come on until our 30s. So I was really young. So she was a little shocked, and so she took me to the doctor. And I was, just as Vicky was saying, it's a roller coaster trying to figure out your dose, because 1 month I could be hyper, 1 month I was hypo. Like my body was trying to figure it out because I was still young. I mean, I still am young, don't get it twisted. But anyway, so so I was on varying medications, and now I'm good with my medicines. Uh, but it's also very common in my family for the women for that potentially to become cancerous. So that is something that I always have to keep a lookout for. But like Vicky was also saying, it's constant exhaustion. Even if you're on your right dose, you feel like more normal, like you find a normal ground, but it is constant fatigue. You wake up pretty sleepy, even if you've gotten a full 8 hours and or even more. But you can always tell whenever it's off as well, because then it's just even worse. So keeping an eye on those exhaustion levels and making sure not to like push myself past certain limits is really important. I also have iron deficiency anemia, which we can never get under control. I'm still trying to deal with
I feel
it.
like mine never is either. No matter like how
Yeah.
much meat or supplements I take, they're still like,
Mhm.
yeah, you're still a little anemic. I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
it's
I
like, "Are
guess
you
that's
okay?"
just me.
I love whenever they're like, "Are you getting enough iron?" And I was like, "Obviously not, but you're giving me, like, triple doses, and I don't know if that's okay for me." So, I deal with that, and if y'all don't know, anemia, well, iron deficient anemia specifically makes you very tired as well, so that combated with my hypothyroidism. It's a constant uphill battle to find my energy, um, but I find it somehow, and I get through it. So there's that, and then, I mean, technically this is chronic, right? I have, wow, what is it called? Arthritis. All through my right arm and my left arm.
I feel
Yeah.
that coming on for me any
Mhm.
day now because my hands are already like
Yeah, they, like,
the
creak and stuff
claw.
like that. Mine started because of
Majority
my injury, and then, because I got, like, stiff and stuff, then everything started messing up, and I wasn't, like, moving enough, and then I whatever. I guess I did it to myself.
majority of
But
Lyme
yeah.
sufferers, they will end up with walkers. Um,
Yeah.
and I've seen as young as a 30-year-old who got Lyme at 10.
Mhm.
So took 20 years, 30 years old, and she's walking with a walker. So it's just a matter of time that
Yeah.
I'll have to do that. So,
Jeez.
right?
Yeah, so there's that. And then I unfortunately, with doing everything right, did get COVID last June. And so now I have chronic heart issues. I have excess fluid around my heart, and it has problems where it like puts pressure on my heart, and it literally feels like somebody's pinching my muscle, like my actual heart. And I become tachycardic because of it. And there's moments that I just have to like sit there because I can't do anything to handle it. Like I just have to let it pass. And also, like Vicky was saying, it affects your stream. You don't know when it's gonna come on. It's hard to promise things. Like I was about 2.5 hours into my stream yesterday, and I was having a really bad episode. And I didn't want to end because I was like, this is not a long stream at all. Like I with this as your career and trying to push through all of these medical concerns, it is wild. Um, I will say, compared to the doctors that y'all have experienced, I have had really good doctors who were able to diagnose me pretty early with everything, but I also come with a big folder so they know like there's something constantly going on, and I'm not crying wolf. I'm just feeling something that's a little new and I need to figure out what it is now.
Yeah.
So, I have been lucky with that, but not everybody is, that's for sure, and it's
Yeah, my
frustrating
first
to have
doctor,
answers.
she ignored Ben too. We went to the same doctor, and Ben used to not be able to go out in the sun. it just randomly started like 3 years ago. He couldn't go out in the sun because he would not sweat. And he basically would welt up. He feels like his skin was being ripped off of his body. And she was just like, I don't know what it is, basically. And he would just go for months and he just gave up. And he went and saw, we're just seeing a nurse practitioner. And he went and saw her after I had such luck. And it took one time. And she said, try this allergy medicine. That's what it sounds like, is that you're being allergic to heat. And he did. Wild. And it took a week for everything to settle in. And he went downstairs and lifted. And he came upstairs bawling and collapsed at the top of the stairs because he couldn't do anything with us unless it was freezing cold outside. He couldn't go anywhere with Charlie and myself, and he lost multiple years of doing fun stuff as a family with us, with Charlie as a kid. So yeah, just finding the right person. I wish I would have met my nurse practitioner first instead of going to the doctor that I was going to, because I was just another number. I was told I was tired because I had a kid. And that,
oh my gosh,
it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And I kept going back. I went back for 4 months in a row. She'd give me something. She'd tell me something was fine or whatever. She'd bring me back in for another set of blood tests. When I went to my nurse practitioner, I said, thankfully for me, money is not an option. This needs to be figured out. Take all the blood that you think you need from me. And she took 6 vials of blood. And she was just like, if I take more from you, you're going to have to, you're going to pass out because I'm taking too much blood from you. But I was like, I want you to run every test. I don't want you to run a test and then see what comes back and then run another test. I hate needles. Take it all now. Run every test you can think of. And took her 2 freaking weeks. If that would have happened with my first doctor, I would have taken a round of antibiotics, been sick for maybe a month, and then been done. And now I'm literally stuck with So,
thanks, doctors.
Yeah, and that's what just really sucks, is because you want to be able to trust your doctors, but so many times doctors just have differing opinions. Like, we have a thing right now in Omaha that there's a chiropractor that's trying to lead this whole movement of medical freedom and stuff like that against masks and vaccines, but he's a chiropractor. Like, why would you ask a chiropractor? But I would never ask my eye doctor why my stomach hurts.
I'm going to start using that more often instead of like the harsh words I have for those people. I'm just going to say medical freedom so that people get less mad at me.
I will say, actually, the one time that I did have a bad doctor was in the ER whenever I was going for COVID. And whenever they roll you in for triage and they're like, okay, let's get your blood pressure and all this stuff. So because they had to separate people a lot, they needed the doctor to come out just to see if I had the symptoms. And I was, shortness of breath, couldn't breathe. My heart's literally at 130, buddy. And I'm just sitting there feverish and everything. And he comes up to me and he's like, all right, what are your symptoms? And I could not talk. And my husband's with me. And he started being like, this is what's going on. And he was like, I asked her. And thankfully Eric stood up for me and he was like, can you not tell she cannot talk right now? And at first he was like, I don't think it's COVID or anything. And then the nurse came back with my heart rate and he was like, oh, we need to get her in the back right now. And I'm just like, yeah, my guy, we do. I can't fake this.
I feel like there's just some doctors
so mad.
Don't need to be doctors.
Yeah. And I get it. They probably do see a lot of people that might be hypochondriacs. I understand. And so that is always a level of concern. But my guy, you should still treat each of us with respect. What is a bedside manner, if not
exactly.
that?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So we had talked about, was it last week? We talked about spoon theory, or 2 weeks ago, technically. At our last show, we talked about spoon theory. And my sister-in-law happened to be in chat and she said, what is spoon theory? And we explained it a little bit, and that's how this show was created. And so, Vicky, have you heard of spoon theory or read it? You haven't? Okay. I sent this to my other sister-in-law who also has Hashimoto's, and she read it and she just said she started crying at work because it just hit so well. Sam, have you actually read it before?
The same article. Let me see what it is. Posted somewhere.
It is,
because I've read an article. I don't know if it is this one. No, I have not read this one.
Okay, I'm going to read this out loud. It's not very long,
Okay.
but it is the best way. It's decently long. But I'm still going to read it out because it is the best
Not very
way
long.
there's just a lot of ads, to explain what it's like to have a chronic illness. And it's also just a great way for people with chronic illnesses to connect to each other, I feel like.
Yeah.
So here we go. My best friend and I were in the diner talking. As usual, it was very late and we were eating French fries with gravy. Like normal girls our age, we spent a lot of time in the diner while in college, and most of the time we spent talking about boys, music, or trivial things. That seemed very important at the time. We never got serious about anything in particular and spent most of our time laughing. As I went to take some of my medicine with the snacks I usually did, she watched me with an awkward kind of stare. Instead of continuing the conversation, she then asked me out of the blue what it felt like to have lupus and be sick. I was shocked, not only because she asked the random question, but also because I assumed she knew all there was to know about lupus. She came to doctors with me. She saw me walk with a cane and throw up in the bathroom. She had seen me cry in pain. What else was there to know? I started to ramble on about pills and aches and pains, but she kept pursuing and didn't seem satisfied with my answers. I was a little surprised, as being my roommate in college and friend for years, I thought she already knew the medical definition of lupus. Then she looked at me with a face every sick person knows well. The face of pure curiosity about something no one healthy can truly understand. She asked what it felt like, not physically, but what it felt like to be me, to be sick. As I tried to gain my composure, I glanced around the table for help or guidance, or at least stall for time to think. I was trying to find the right words. How do I answer a question I never was able to answer for myself? How do I explain every detail of every day being affected and give the emotions a sick person goes through with clarity? I could have given up, cracked a joke like I usually do, and changed the subject, but I remember thinking, if I don't try to explain this, how could I ever expect her to understand? If I can't explain this to my best friend, how can I explain my world to anyone else? I had to at least try. At that moment, the spoon theory was born. I quickly grabbed every spoon on the table. Hell, I grabbed spoons off other tables. I looked at her in the eyes and said, "Here you go. You have lupus." She looked at me slightly confused, as anyone would when they are being handed a bouquet of spoons. The cold metal spoons clanked in my hands as I grouped them together and shoved them into her hands. I explained that the difference in being sick and being healthy is having to make choices or to consciously think about things when the rest of the world doesn't have to. The healthy have the luxury of a life without choices, a gift most people take for granted. Most people start the day with unlimited amount of possibilities and energy to do whatever they desire, especially young people. For the most part, they do not need to worry about the effects of their actions. So for my explanation, I used spoons to convey this point. I wanted something for her to actually hold, for me to take away, since most people who get sick feel a loss of life they once knew. If I was in control of taking away the spoons, then she would know what it feels like to have someone or something else, in this case lupus, being in control. She grabbed the spoons with excitement. She didn't understand what I was doing, but she's always up for a good time, so I guess she thought I was cracking a joke of some kind like I usually do when talking about touchy topics. Little did she know how serious I became. I asked her to count the spoons. She asked why, and I explained that when you are healthy, you expect to have a never-ending supply of spoons. But when you have to now plan your day, you need to know exactly how many spoons you are starting with. It doesn't guarantee that you might not lose some along the way, but at least it helps to know where you are starting. She counted out 12 spoons. She laughed and said she wanted more. I said no, and I knew right away this little game would work, when she looked disappointed and we hadn't even started yet. I've wanted more spoons for years and haven't found a way yet to get more. Why would she, or why should she? I also told her to always be conscious of how many she had and to not drop them because she can never forget she has lupus. I asked her to list off the tasks of the day, including the most simple. As she rattled off daily chores or just fun things to do, I explained how each one would cost her a spoon. When she jumped right into getting ready for work as her first task of the morning, I cut her off and took away a spoon. I practically jumped down her throat. I said, "No, you don't just get up. You have to crack open your eyes and then realize you are late. You didn't sleep well the night before. You have to crawl out of bed, and then you have to make yourself something to eat before you can do anything else, because if you don't, you can't take your medicine. And if you don't take your medicine, you might as well give up all your spoons for today and tomorrow too." I quickly took away a spoon and she realized she hasn't even gotten dressed yet. Showering cost her a spoon just for washing her hair and shaving her legs. Reaching high and low that early in the morning could actually cost more than one spoon. But I figured I would give her a break. I didn't want to scare her right away. Getting dressed was worth another spoon. I stopped her and broke down every task to show her how every little detail needs to be thought about. You cannot just simply throw clothes on when you are sick. I explained that I have to see what clothes I can physically put on. If my hands hurt that day, buttons were out of the question. If I have bruises that day, I need to wear long sleeves. And if I have a fever, I needed a sweater to stay warm, and so on. If my hair is falling out, I need to spend more time to look presentable. And then you need to factor in another 5 minutes for feeling badly that you took 2 hours to do all this. I think she was starting to understand when she theoretically didn't even get to work and she was left with 6 spoons. I then explained to her that she needed to choose the rest of her day wisely, since when your spoons are gone, they're gone. Sometimes you can borrow against tomorrow's spoons, but just think about how hard tomorrow will be with less spoons. I also needed to explain that a person who is sick always lives with the looming thought that tomorrow may be the day that a cold comes, or an infection, or any number of things that could be very dangerous. So you do not want to run low on spoons because you never know when you truly will need them. I didn't want to depress her, but I needed to be realistic, and unfortunately, being prepared for the worst is part of a real day for me. We went through the rest of the day, and she slowly learned that skipping lunch will cost her a spoon, as well as standing on a train, or even typing at her computer for too long. She was forced to make choices, think about things differently. Hypothetically, she had to choose to not run errands so that she could eat dinner that night. When we got to the end of her pretend day, she said she was hungry. I summarized that she had to eat dinner, but she only had 1 spoon left. If she cooked, she wouldn't have enough energy to clean the pots. If she went out for dinner, she might be too tired to drive home safely. Then I also explained that I didn't even bother to add into this game that she was so nauseous that cooking was probably out of the question anyway. So she decided to make soup. It was easy. I then said it was only 7 p.m. and you have the rest of the night, but maybe end up with 1 spoon so you can do something fun, or clean your apartment, or do chores, but you can't do it all. I rarely see her emotional, so when I saw her upset, I knew maybe I was getting through to her. I didn't want my friend to be upset, but at the same time, I was happy to think finally maybe someone understood me a little bit. She had tears in her eyes and asked quietly, "Christine, how do you do it? Do you really do this every day?" I explained that some days were worse than others. Some days I have more spoons than most. But I can never make it go away, and I can't forget about it. I always have to think about it. I handed her a spoon I had been holding in reserve. I said simply, "I have learned to live life with an extra spoon in my pocket, in reserve. You need to always be prepared." It's hard. The hardest thing I've ever had to learn is to slow down and not do everything. I fight to this day. I hate feeling left out, having to choose to stay home or not to get things done that I want to. I wanted her to feel that frustration. I wanted her to understand that everything everyone else does comes so easy, but for me it is 100 little jobs in one. I need to think about the weather, my temperature that day, the whole day's plans before I can attack any one given thing. When other people can simply do things, I have to attack it and make a plan like I'm strategizing a war. It is in that lifestyle, the difference between being sick and healthy. It is the beautiful ability to not think and just do. I miss that freedom. I miss never having to count spoons. After we were emotional and talked about this for a little while longer, I sensed she was sad. Maybe she finally understood. Maybe she realized that she never could truly and honestly say she understands. But at least now she might not complain so much when I can't go out for dinner some nights, or when I never seem to make it to her house and she always has to drive to mine. I gave her a hug when we walked out of the diner. I had the 1 spoon in my hand and I said, "Don't worry, I see this as a blessing. I have been forced to think about everything I do. You know how many spoons people waste every day. I don't have room for wasted time or wasted spoons, and I choose to spend this time with you." Ever since this night, I've used the spoon theory to explain my life to many people. In fact, my family and friends referred to spoons all the time. It has been a code word for what I can and cannot do. Once people understand the spoon theory, they seem to understand me better. But I also think they live their life a little differently too. I think isn't just good for understanding lupus, but anyone dealing with a disability or illness. Hopefully they don't take so much for granted, or their life in general. I give a piece of myself in every sense of the word when I do anything. It has become an inside joke. I have become famous for saying to people jokingly that they should feel special when I spend time with them because they have one of my spoons. The end.
Yeah, that's
That was
really good.
intense.
It's very intense. And the funny thing was, she was like, "You can cook dinner, but you can't wash dishes." If anybody saw on Ben's stream, he is drinking out of a wifey coffee mug today because I have not had the energy or the ability to wash any of the other coffee mugs, and all that are left are my coffee mugs. So he's gonna have Charlie's mom one next, and he's gonna have one of the kitty cat next. And
Yeah.
the end.
Cleaning the house is one thing that I never have a spoon for because of everything I'm doing for the family. And it sucks because there are things that like only I can touch, like putting away my clothes or needing to clean out clothes and like get rid of them or anything like that. Nobody can do that but me. But I have not had a spoon for it for a while and I need to. And it's just like, where
Yeah.
do you find that?
It's true. I mean, I think like I often get what I call like the nightstand of depression, which is
Oh.
like when you just keep drinking like drinks and tea and coffee and you just put it on the nightstand and then you're just too
Yeah.
tired to like clean it up. It's like once I've tried to do it at least once a week. I know that might sound gross, but once a week I'm like, oh, it's time. I gotta clean off the nightstand of depression because it's just getting to a point where it's too much and I don't even want to look at it anymore. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't have children. I just have a man child that's streaming downstairs right now. But and I also have 2 dogs who I like take care of, who probably would be dead if I didn't live here. But you know, it's hard because you feel like you're not good enough for
Mhm.
relationships, for friendships, because you feel like you're always like the Debbie Downer. And I've been told before, I've been told to my face, like, you're kind of a bummer to be around because you're always sad or like you're always not feeling well or like there's always something wrong with you.
Those comments when people are always just like, "You're always tired," or like, "Why don't you do this instead?"
Yeah.
It's just like you obviously don't understand, and I can't make you understand. But that's why it's important not to judge a person
Yeah.
for
Right.
things that they are unable to do right now. We
It
don't live in our
frustrates
bodies.
it frustrates me when people are like, "Yeah, I'm so tired too," and I was like, I don't want to make it a competition of who's more tired or why are you
Yeah.
tired kind of thing. But I'm like,
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, uh, it just I'm screaming to people that are like, "Yeah, I'm really tired too," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably really tired because you stayed up till 2 a.m.
Mhm.
There's a
watching a show
difference.
or something
We
like that."
rested.
Right. Yeah. Or like maybe you just had a really busy day yesterday, but are you so tired that you're afraid to blink? Have you fallen asleep at a stoplight and had someone honk behind you? Because that happens to me very often. Can you not drive at night because you're afraid that if you close your eyes for a split second, you will fall asleep and drive off the road? Like,
Yeah.
it's just, it's, yeah. How does reading, since neither of you have actually fully read it before, how does listening to that feel? Do you feel like you have a new way to explain things to
I feel
people?
understood
Yeah, no, for sure.
in a way.
Things like that always evoke emotion in me because it's so rare that you read something that resonates with you exactly how you're feeling. And when you do, it's like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I wish I could bring this person out of like the computer screen and like to have her talk to my friends and family and be like, this is what it's like. This is someone else explaining it. Maybe you don't believe it when it comes out of my mouth,
Yeah.
but
A
here's
lot of
someone else
people
explaining it.
think it's laziness, and
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah,
Like,
I finally got over the whole guilt of not having my dishes done when people come over and stuff like that, because people just need to be okay with that. People need to be
Yeah.
okay with that I have 10 mugs sitting on my countertop right now because I just don't have the energy to hand wash them,
Mhm.
and that my laundry is not going to be done. And thankfully over the years Ben understands, but it took a long time for him to understand that it's not me milking this, basically. It's me
100%.
literally just incapable.
Yeah, it's the same with like if you're somebody who's been on a journey maybe to better your health through like working out and weight loss and stuff. I've struggled to like lose actual pounds
Mhm.
since I've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's because hypothyroidism already slows down your metabolism. And so you can be eating the exact same like healthy meals as someone who's extremely fit, and it's not going to work the same. And so like whenever I would be vocal to a friend about, it's frustrating that I'm working so hard with not any progress, and the comments that get me the most are like, "Oh, have you tried this weight loss shake?" And I'm just
Yeah.
like, "My guy." Actually, yes, I have. I've tried several. And you know what they do? Nothing.
It's true.
Because
Like
it's the exact same thing.
if you were to look in I just cleaned out my vitamin cabinet, but if you were to look in there like last week, you would be like, what the heck? Because it's like just
Yeah.
bottles and bottles of like energy supplements and herbal supplements and anything that I
Mine
could
are all
read
gummies
about.
too, though, because I'm a kid.
Mine are gummies
No,
as
I
well.
love gummies. I have all my vitamins are gummies pretty much, but like I would just buy whatever I think would work, even if it was like stupid and probably wasn't going to work and wasn't really made for what I was trying to do.
Mhm.
Like I would read a review on Amazon and people would be like, "Oh my God, this changed my life. I was so fatigued and now I have like a normal
Cured my
life."
thyroid.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I would read that and
that's
I would be
dope.
like, I want that so bad that like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna buy this just because it's cheaper than a doctor's appointment, and like if it works, like cool. So I've taken so many like random stuff from like Amazon, and recently I just like threw it all out because I was like, none of this is working, and it's just depressing to look at.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's great that it worked for you, but our bodies are obviously very different.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's just people, I hope, learn to understand that.
Mhm.
And as the spoon theory has like gotten more popular, especially amongst like the streaming community, I'm glad to see that people are understanding more and more when you're just like, I can't do that. Like I don't have the spoons for that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like putting your foot down and learning to say no to things and being okay about it. And hopefully people are understanding as much as they can as to why. But as soon as somebody says they don't have the spoon for it, take that as like don't push them. Don't try
Yeah.
to guilt them to do it anyway. Because it's just that's not first of all, that's not nice.
Yeah.
Like that's not nice. But
I've actually
I think
done the full bouquet of spoons to my parents.
Oh really?
And,
good.
and explained to them what it meant when I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go take a nap. And they're like, why are you taking naps? Go to bed earlier. I'm like, that doesn't make a difference. I could sleep 12 hours and I'll still wake up and 30 minutes later be ready for another 10, 12, 8, whatever hours of sleep. It doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
There's never been a day that I wake up refreshed.
Yeah.
There's never a day where I wake up and not just want to roll over and die because I'm so tired.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
like,
start getting depressed about even waking up because you're just like, oh, what is it going to be today? I don't even
Yeah.
know yet, but I already don't want to deal with it.
do you guys
Every
have
day
anything that
different.
fluctuates? Like for me, my joint and muscle pain fluctuates. My fatigue does not. It just gets worse over time. But like, so I'll go like 2 or 3 days where like my joints feel really good. I don't feel achy. They don't lock up. And then just randomly they do.
I would also say my joints, my fatigue also does not fluctuate. I just
Yeah,
start out
same.
like less tired in the morning and completely obliterated by the end of the day. I wish that fluctuated. Yo, that'd be dope.
I know.
If your
Can you
fatigue
imagine waking up
fluctuated,
and
so
be
at
like,
least you could even like have a half a day of feeling awake.
uh-huh.
I'm in
Yeah,
the
that's
spot
nice.
where like, let's say we're going to the zoo and we get there at 10 a.m. when they open and I just go. I'm not tired until I stop.
Yeah.
So as
Adrenaline.
soon as I get into the car, I'm done for. But I
Yeah.
could push myself all day because my brain is being stimulated and my body is being stimulated. But as soon as I stop, it was like we sit down to eat lunch or something like that at the zoo, I'm done for. Then after
Yeah.
that, I just am complaining in my head because I hate complaining. I hate defining myself by what my body is feeling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also think it's bad to ignore it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's a hard balance to find is like for me and you guys are content creators as well, so you would know this, but like, I'm like, when is it like overkill explaining to my chat about like what's going on. Cause like I always tell my chat, I'm like, I don't want you guys to assume. I'd rather you just know out of my mouth like what is happening and what I'm feeling and stuff. Because I'm worried that if you assume that you're gonna assume like the worst of me, like she's being lazy or she's taking her
Mhm.
position as a streamer for granted and like those things. That's what I think is gonna go through your head. Not like, oh, she doesn't feel well. So especially when
Yeah.
I look perfectly fine. So
Yeah,
that's like
those
the
are the
thing for
invisible
me.
illnesses.
Yeah. On
Some
Twitter, I'm
people
like,
don't believe
how
them.
often do I talk about this without people being like, oh my God, she's talking about the thyroid again. I can't even deal with this anymore.
It's something that's really prevalent in your life, and sometimes talking about it is important, and it feels good to get it out because it's something you constantly live with and are at times beating yourself up about. And honestly, I'm somebody who does go to bed really early because I'm hoping to combat the fatigue. And I used to beat myself up about not being able to stay up later and watch something with friends or play games with friends. And there are evenings where I'm like, I got a little bit extra energy and I want to take advantage of this and I'll play some games or watch something. But it's very rare these days. And I no longer feel guilty about needing to go to bed. Um, because I know that there's going to be no permanent fix ever, but if it's at the end of the day and I'm not working anymore, I give myself that grace and go rest. Even if my insomnia keeps me up a few more hours, at least I'm laying down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, cuz on stream people see you, they don't you're not there sleeping.
Mhm.
You look like you've got energy and everything like that, and it's like that's a part of the look, baby. It's a show. Like, we
Yeah.
put
It
on
is.
a show, and we don't want you to come in there and go to sleep. Like, that's not how we're gonna be able to progress ourselves in this industry. So it's just give people grace.
I also feel like it's
What
putting on a
makes it feel
show
like you have
when you're
something.
just in front of people, right?
Yeah, masking is a thing.
Yep, there was
That's
a
very prevalent.
day at TwitchCon a few years ago that I forgot to take my medicine in the morning. And I don't know about you guys, but I still forget to take my medicine all the time.
Yeah, I do.
Like it'll be like
I
1 in the
rarely do.
afternoon and I'm like, I didn't take any of my meds this morning. But I've been taking meds for, 4 years. Why can't my brain just remember? It's because it's so tired.
Mm.
Um, and there's one day that I forgot to take my meds and we were at TwitchCon and Ben was streaming at the State Farm booth, and a group of people were kind of like surrounding and talking to me. And somebody had asked me, they said, "Oh, I heard that you saw so and so earlier today," and I didn't remember talking to them, and it was like apparently a big deal.
I was with you for that. I
When we were at
remember
State
that.
Farm, and I was just like zoning
Yes.
out.
Yeah,
I
because
was
no, it was
glazed
actually
over,
true.
and everyone's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Crap, I didn't take my medicine." And now you can
Mhm.
see what that is, like what the real me looks like is literally a glazed donut. Like that's
Okay, so
the best way to put it. That I still am very sweet, but I'm just frosted over.
Yeah.
In
yeah.
the For me, I feel guilty a lot. Like Vicky, like you said, like how much do you share it without it being whiny or preachy or anything like that? And I found there's like accounts on Instagram that I always find, and the one that I'm putting in chat here, Invisible on the Outside, is my favorite. She's an artist. She creates these perfect little pictures
Oh, I
of
love these.
her story and also people's stories that they submit. And I messaged her and we've talked a little bit about a back and forth. She has Lyme. And it just it talking to her and having her know that she's helping me and so many other people. Like she's like, that's all I really want is for people to understand what it feels like. And looking at her stuff when I'm having a bad day, I go through there and I scroll through her stuff and I find the one that resonates with me that day. And I just stare at it. And that's like the best way for me to remind myself to give myself grace that it's okay. I'm gonna be in
Mhm.
pain. The dishes are gonna wait. And laundry, Ben's gonna have to yell at me from the shower to grab him underwear from the dryer because I probably won't ever put it away as much as I try to make a laundry system. Um, But yeah, she's my favorite. If you could ask for help. Let's say you had a fairy godmother, 3 wishes, genie kind of thing, of 3 ways to make your life better without physically changing you. So you can't be like, take my fatigue away. But what are the 3 things that you would need in life that you feel like would make things easier?
Daily $1 million would be great.
Yeah, that would be good.
To be honest.
I mean, I didn't put any other stipulations on it.
You didn't. You said just can't
You're gonna have
change you, and I'm like,
$365 million at the end of the year.
That's
just
good.
$1
And then I
million
can
a day.
chill. I'll be big chilling after that.
Why stop at $1 million? Yeah, 100 million.
I mean, you know what? Infinite money.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
All bills paid. Honestly, though, I probably, one of my wishes would be to have like stable income in this career, like to where I don't have to go and change like what I love doing. So that would be nice, because there are days where maybe I can't stream, but I have to, because I
Yeah.
am the breadwinner. And if I don't stream, we don't eat kind of thing. So it's
Yeah.
just like, I wish I had more grace for that, to take care of myself, because there are days I stream with no spoons because I have to. And it sucks. So that I would really like that, fairy godmother.
If you're Liz, that I agree with that. I would love I think I would like more so for just to have the people around me be like a little bit more understanding, because I think it would just make me feel less inadequate. Because like you said, you feel whiny, and like you're like, you don't want to feel whiny, but then you can't not tell people what's going on, because then they're just going to be like, well, what's going on? And just like a cycle of nonsense. And my mom, as much as I love her, is like a one-up person, where
Mine is
she
too. Oh my
will,
gosh.
where
We have the
she'll be
same
like,
mom.
oh no, you're tired? Well, I'm more tired.
I hate that. And it's just like, it's not a competition, and
Yeah, I'm like,
everybody's
we can both be
tired is
tired.
different.
Like,
Both things
she's like,
can be
oh,
true
well,
at the
what did
same
you do?
time.
Yeah, she's like, what did you do today? I did blah, 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 blah. And that's why I'm tired. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, you're allowed to be tired as
Yeah.
well.
The difference is that kind of tired is she used all of her energy. Your kind of
Mhm.
tired is you don't have any energy.
Yeah, I started on an empty tank, and I'm just going.
Fuming. Little fumes. Yeah, another thing would just have housework done.
Yeah.
We're
Be nice not to think of that.
lucky
Have, like,
enough that we have a
Weasley
cleaning
house.
company that comes every other week to do like deep cleans and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And living more minimally, the day-to-day cleaning is usually not bad for me. I can pick up our whole house in 10 minutes kind of thing. But it's just for me, laundry, dishes. Like, I love to cook. I'll cook every day. I literally save and pick my meals based on the spoons at the end of the day kind of thing. But I love cooking, but I just can't stay on top of the dishes. I can't stay on top of the laundry. I feel like a bad housewife and mother, and because I can't. And as much as Ben tells me it's okay, he understands. He asks me after dinner if I need to take a nap, so that, and he'll hang out with Charlie so that way they're quiet somewhere. I still feel like I'm a failure because I just can't do a simple task of folding laundry and putting it away. Like, but am I capable of doing that if I didn't have Lyme? I like to think so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Mm.
I don't
like
know.
to
It
think
just
that I could pick up a building if
I know.
Get my strength. Yeah, I feel that way with Leif. I mean, I know you said we can't ask for a wish that'll like change what we have, but I really do wish I could have more natural energy because Leif told me the other day when I was helping him put his shoes on for school, and it broke my heart. He was like, "Mom, I wish I could spend more time with you." And because he knows I'm working all the time, and it broke my heart because by the time I'm done working, I need to chill. Like I've been on for 4 to 8 hours and I'm exhausted and I'm like dying on the inside. But yeah, I trying to figure that out right now. So I've put a hard stop on my streams of 2 p.m. so that he gets out of school and we can hang out while I have a couple spoons left.
Yeah.
Today,
So-
Charlie, in the car, I slept in, Ben slept in, and Charlie slept in. So we were just already off to a great start this morning.
Yeah.
And in the car, I answered a question like, I don't know, buddy. I don't know why it's like that. He's like, okay. And he gets into his chair and he's putting his seatbelt on and he's like, Mommy, why did you answer that so mean?
Aw.
And I was like, oh. And so I apologized and I was like, sorry, buddy. I am not having a great day and I'm very tired. And he's like, is it because of the bug? And that's how we explained to him is that, that a bug bit me and gave me sleepies. And I was like, yeah, today the bug is being very strong inside me. And he's just like, well, it's okay. I forgive you. But I just really like when you don't answer things when being mean. And I'm like, I know. And it's not like I'm not like raging on my kid. I'm just like, I don't know, bud. I don't know why there's this random white dot on my screen of my car because I haven't clicked on it yet. Or he's like, what's that white thing over there? And I'm like, I don't know. There's like 10 white things over there. What are you talking about? Use descriptors. My favorites were driving. He's like, what's that sign? I'm like, we probably already passed it by now, but I don't know. Describe the sign. Is it a large sign? Is it a green sign? Is it a red sign? I don't know. Yeah. Just use the descriptions, please. And he's getting better, but it sucks when, especially with kids, that they notice. Yeah. And I ask Charlie all the time, can I have a cat nap? That's what we call it. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, you can have a cat nap. How long should I set my watch? And I'm like, oh, just please don't set your watch so I can just sleep until I wake up. But for him, like, he's like, yeah, do you need 15 minutes? Do you need 30 minutes? And then he wakes up and he's like, your cat nap's over with. And I'm like, sure it is, I guess.
So. Time concepts aren't a thing with children.
Yeah.
Like, what's a little bit to you?
I don't know. And that's why we do hard times with him. Like if I say, hey, you have 5 minutes, I look at my watch and say, okay, it's 5 minutes versus, a lot of times parents will fudge and be like, you have 5 minutes. And then they'll count to 30 and they're like, all right, time to go. We watched an episode of Bluey where the mom was like, you guys have no concept of time. And it just clicked in our head that kids don't. And so we have to teach him what time actually feels like. We'll do like 1 minute silent times where we just all sit there for a minute, not talk. And he's like, a minute is a long time. I'm like, yeah. So next time I say, give me a minute, don't come in 10 seconds later.
Yeah. See, and I just yawned. I'm not tired, but I'm tired.
I just looked at you yawning and I'm really holding back on one. We should just do a group yawn and get it over with.
It's frustrating. Because it's like, I'm not bored of what you're saying. My body's just
that's
like,
how I
all right,
feel
here we
too.
go.
I'm like, I promise, like, you're not boring me. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just yawning. I'm just going to yawn the whole time.
We have 3 people with chronic fatigue in this, and I can just feel the energy of our show.
I know.
Because we're so tired.
It's like, all right, let's stream after this. Wake up, Sam.
So with the whole spoon theory thing and that being such a great way to explain things, and I mentioned this on our last show, ordered spoons from Etsy, and I got them stamped. Yep, I got them stamped on the bowl of the spoon that says an extra spoon. And I plan on saving those for friends that if I notice that they're having a hard time, I can just sit there and, kind of remind them and uplift them a little bit. And then when they have a friend that's having a hard time and needs an extra spoon, then they can pass it on. And I'm just really curious to see, will I never see these spoons again? I hope that it is something that can kind of help people. If you were to give advice to anyone who is dealing with a diagnosis of a chronic illness or just got diagnosed, what would you
I think I would be like, it's kind of similar to when people on Twitch get partner and they think like, that's it. Time for me to relax because I got what what I wanted to achieve. But it's just like the beginning of everything. It's just the
Mhm.
beginning of like your career essentially and beginning of all the work that you're gonna have to put into. It's kind of the same with getting diagnosed. It's like this is something that you wanted, but at the same time, it might not be correct diagnosis, or you might still have to go to a bunch of other specialists. So don't feel defeated if like you get diagnosed with something and then it ends up either not being correct or it doesn't end up meeting your expectations of that. You're going to turn into like a perfectly healthy person with like tons of energy and you're going to be able to do all the things that you want to do, because it's probably not going to happen. But calling the specialist and getting out there and doing what you have to do is definitely like a amazing first step. And I know it could be scary because you don't know what they're going to say, and sometimes like a lot of people don't have a good support system, so they're all on their own. But it's definitely worth it, even if it takes a while to figure it out instead of just kind of like reaching in the dark for a solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I anytime that I talk to somebody, especially when they found out some new medical news, um, I try to encourage them to find your new normal and let them know that it's okay to have a new normal. Because obviously you can't continue life the way that you used to if you at least want to try to live a life like day to day where you're not
Oh.
struggling as much. So yeah, the having to put things behind you um is a big step. Like me, I used to stay up till 3 a.m. easily. Can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a part of my new normal. And it sucks. I'd love to be able to be young Sam energy again and give it to me. But yeah, don't be afraid of your new normal.
I would say to fight for a diagnosis. If
Mhm. Yes.
is not, um, one doctor is not listening to you and really hearing you, don't keep trying with them because they're not going to listen to you for anything.
Yeah.
Find somebody else. Um, and also, when you received your diagnosis, be ready for people to tell you that it's wrong.
Yeah.
I went to a neurologist, and because when I was having a ton of flare ups, I would lose all feeling in my fingers, and I was having like 3 or 4 a month at one point. And he was like, I don't even know why you're here. You have no neurological damage. Why did your doctor send you here? And I said, oh, well, I have chronic Lyme disease. And he said, that's not a thing. Um, and he's like, did you take antibiotics for it? And I said, we tried, but I still have all of these symptoms. And he's just like, well, he basically said that only crazy doctors think that chronic Lyme is a thing. And so I left that meeting or that appointment, one, feeling really just frustrated because I didn't have an answer why my hands and feet were going numb. And two, feeling completely invalidated because now I, again, don't feel like I have an answer. And same
Mhm.
thing with like my parents. They would keep pushing. They're like, you need to go see a chronic disease doctor. And I was like, they're not going to go see me, a disease specialist. I'm like, they're not going to see me because COVID, because they have bigger and better things that they need to be focusing on, like figuring out COVID. Nobody's going to listen to me. Despite the amount of connections, I have an old client of mine that literally is a doctor for pediatrics, but a doctor's for chronic diseases here in Omaha, and she can't even get me in because she's like, I don't have the correct references to get you into the adult section because all they care about right now is COVID. And it's just like, okay, so it sucks when people are gonna tell you that you're wrong, but just expect it. So fight for an actual diagnosis and to be heard, and then but also understand that you're going to be told that you're wrong. Mine's not really like happy advice.
Yeah, mine wasn't
Yeah.
really either, but
None of this is happy, right?
realistic.
I mean, none of this. You can't really spin any of this to be a positive, can you?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, other than educating people, that's the
Mhm.
only positive that I get from stuff like this. Is having conversations like this and educating people, and making it so people know how to help us, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people that believe that what we have is not real.
It's because it's
Yeah.
invisible.
You don't look sick. Literally that Spoon Theory article that I posted is from a website that's called butyoudon'tlook.sick.com.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it is like the best place for just finding articles about chronic illnesses. They have specific ones for like lupus and MS and Hashimoto's and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah. The only time that like my chronic illness of my anemia makes me look sick is when it's severe and I have like dark circles and like I'm more pale than ever. then I understand. Like, yeah, I look sick.
yeah.
Probably because my numbers are off.
And like for mine, there are no visible symptoms until I can't walk. So, I mean, nobody's gonna look at me and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, a tick bit you?"
Yeah,
Sure.
looking at you, you look great. You look hot. Look at you. Oof. Who is she?
Yeah, it's like, what do you want me to look like? The Crimson Chin? Like,
Right.
I'm gonna
Collapse the bush in
normal
one day.
person.
Oh my gosh. Well, since we're all kind of a little
Don't you do
sleepy,
that.
No!
and it's close to our end time, I think that we should wrap up. Because you know what? It would be very fitting for us to end 15 minutes early with a group of people with chronic fatigue. And 100% I am okay with that.
Yeah.
I would
You're
really like to go take a 15-minute nap before I have to leave for my next thing to
I
do.
know. I'm gonna sleep on this plane. Like, hopefully, as soon as I sit on it, I'm just like out like a light. Even though it's only 45 minutes, I'll take the 45 minutes.
Yeah, the best part is that you can sleep anywhere when you have chronic fatigue.
That is true. People say that to me all the time. They're like, it's so weird. You can. Like the first time I went to Guardian Con, I stayed in an Airbnb with a bunch of people, and I literally just like curled up on a chair and fell asleep. And they were like, "Why are you sleeping there?" And I'm like, "Just because I can.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sleep here."
I fell asleep at the Destiny of an Intel event that Ben did in San Francisco, and our partner manager, he was like, "I'll leave you alone." I'm like, "You're not gonna bother me."
Yeah, you could do anything
It's
right
fine.
now, and I'll still be sleeping.
There's literally an orchestra on the other side of this wall that's playing music, and I can hear Ben yelling, "You're not bothering me by typing on your computer right here."
Yeah.
I can fall asleep so easily in moving vehicles. It's just a nice lull.
We should have a sleep off. How fast can we?
I know.
Oh no, my insomnia keeps me up even when I can't. So y'all probably knock out. I gotta take some melatonin.
I
I'll
need
catch up.
melatonin too sometimes.
Do you get the crazy melatonin dreams though?
Yes.
I did whenever I was on Ambien. I had lucid dreams with Ambien, but I do not get bad dreams at all with my little melatonin gummies.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, no,
I get like
I
the
had
crazy.
crazy dreams.
I use the CBN and CBD combo from Sunday Scaries, and I don't have any issues with that. And then Ben takes magnesium to help sleep as well.
Yeah.
Seems good.
I remember I had one specific dream where I was just like, I don't know, I was at a train station and I went up to one of these train conductors and I was like, this is a dream. And they were like, you're not supposed to know that. And then I woke up and I was like, what the heck was that?
It's like sort of a horror movie.
I was like, did I go to another dimension?
All right. Well, Vicky, thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you can tell us where we can find you online so we can all come see you.
Yes, you could find me. Luckily, I was able to get my newer Twitch name on everything. So on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Fan House, it's GekGemu, GekGemu.
We will see you next week. We need a better outro, but no, this is a perfect outro.
You're still extra magical.
That's your outro. We'll
Yeah, I
see you
know.
next week.